Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV. Welcome to a very special episode of the Tactical Insight Show. It's a milestone episode. Why? Find out at the end of the show. We'll discuss it a little later. In the meantime, we've only got a win against Leicester to discuss, and I welcome back Graham. Good to see you.
It's great to be back, James, isn't it? Yes, a milestone show, and looking forward to the end of the show when we actually reveal what that is. Obviously a vital win for Arsenal on Saturday, back-to-back wins now in the Premiership. I think when in the January window Arsenal didn't get their two main targets, Mudryk and Caicedo, a lot of people were laughing at Arsenal. A lot of the football world were laughing at Arsenal.
Hashtag Edu out.
Yeah, and all that. But Arsenal were decisive and proactive in the way that they dealt with that. They went out and got two Premier-ready players, Jorginho and Trossard, and both came in and both had a great influence on the game on Saturday. Jorginho, again, an excellent performance, which we're going to talk about. But a special mention for Leandro Trossard, because I thought his performance in a false nine position, this is what Arteta went with on Saturday, changed it up. Eddie had been suffering with a lack of goals in the last few games, maybe looked tired. He tactically changed it, went with the false nine, which is a very sophisticated role for a forward to play. But Trossard has played the role at Brighton, and I thought he was key on Saturday in helping us play round their very narrow, compact midfield. We had to play round a Leicester shape, which I thought was 4-3-2-1, which soon became a 4-4-1-1. And it was because of Trossard dropping in that we've got overloads in like a 5 round their midfield during the game. In the end, got us over the line with a deserved 1-0 victory.
Couldn't agree more. Let's start with the stats, as always. And we go to the match stats. Here they are, up here. I mean, this, you know what? I'm not doing it justice. I'm going to circle it. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to really, really make a point of this. One shot Leicester had all game. Not a single one on target. Honestly, Ramsdale, there was no point in putting his gloves on. He could have sat there and had a cup of tea. It was as comfortable a performance in terms of nullifying the opposition as I might have ever seen in my life. And I'm being deadly serious. And I've got to give huge credit to Arsenal for that.
Yeah, and also you can put a circle around the XG. I think it's the lowest XG since those stats have been done by Opta since 2003-04.
You are right. I heard that too. There you go.
And that just shows you that the whole of this game, James, was played exclusively in the Leicester half. I'm just trying to work out the reasons for that. Leicester, when we watched them at Man United the previous week, were very open, very almost like attacking, weren't they? And they got picked off by Man United.
They went punch for punch against United. They went punch for punch. Yeah.
And this week against us, they went very conservatively. As I said at the start of the show, it was a 4-4-1-1 out of possession. And as a result of that, Arsenal totally dominated the game. The whole of the match was virtually played inside the Leicester half. And in terms of, you know, you think of 1-0s as being nervy wins, don't you? But this was as lower nervy 1-0 win as you could ever have. And the only regret from the Arsenal point of view, I think, as much as they dominated the play, they dominated the possession, 66% possession. There.
Sorry, yeah, 66%.
Yeah, I'm coming to that, yeah. As much as that they had 66% possession, James, they only had 10 shots at goal in the whole game.
And that is low.
It is low, it's incredibly low. For 66% possession, they completed 508 passes, which is well over double what they completed. I just thought up high we lacked a cutting edge. Didn't sort of make the right decisions in the first half, although we had more shots in the first half, funny enough, than the second half. But to only have 10 shots when you're totally dominated with the touches up high we had is not a good return.
I agree.
So are we saying the Arsenal attack was not working? Are we saying Leicester were very good defensively, or just shutting us out? And
I honestly think, because obviously we're going to look at the Trossard thing in a minute and the impact he had, I thought Arsenal looked incredibly fluid. I thought Arsenal, 7 of those 10 shots came in the first half. We then get the goal on 45 minutes and 52 seconds or whatever it is. At that point, Arsenal didn't need to commit much more than they did. Leicester were doing nothing. We were very, very solid. We kept the ball in nice areas. That possession percentage is still very high. You know, that can often swing. You can have almost 65% in the first half, and then you get the early goal, and then Leicester get on the ball and you sit back. But that has maintained as a very high percentage. So Arsenal just totally controlled. They didn't need to do much more. Zinchenko had an effort. There was the offside goal with Martinelli and Saka. Trossard put one in the top corner that was ruled out as well. well. So actually Arsenal had the ball in the net 3 times. And I think if they need to step up a gear, they could have. They did when they got that goal. I think really in the context of it, when you look at where those minutes came in terms of the shots and the possession stats, Arsenal really had Leicester where they wanted them.
I think so. I think one of the reasons why Leicester played the way they played, or one of the reasons why we were comfortable in the game, is Leicester went into this game without their creative spark, James Maddison.
Of course.
Who was a massive miss. And I think that changed the way that they actually played the game. Normally they didn't have nothing through the thirds. And they decided to go long a lot in the game, which didn't work for them, which we're going to talk about. But here's the dominant display by Arsenal in the attacking stats, James. 64 final third entries to their 29. Deep touches massively in our favour. 3 times the deep touches. Zone 14 touches, incredible those numbers. 33 zone 14 touches. And that maybe when you have that number of zone 14 touches, you think you'd have more shots. And look at that field tilt. Last week was even higher, but this was still a massive field tilt. 73% in our favour against their 27.
And what's crazy about this actually is zone 14. A reminder to anyone who maybe is just watching Tactical Insight or has joined us very recently, because it was probably a couple of months ago you were explaining zone 14. It's that area right on the edge of the penalty area where the D is.
The middle of the penalty box.
And so actually, it's very interesting how that feeds into. They missed James Maddison, crucial in that area of the pitch. We had Trossard. Linked everything together.
It's a great comparison, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's actually a wonderful comparison.
Tale of two stories.
Maddison is somebody who makes it happen for them. I think on Match of the Day I saw the numbers. When he plays, the chances they create is massively higher. Their win rate is higher. So without him, they're only half the team. He's their main creative spark. So he was a massive miss in the way that Trossard came in and was sitting sort of like he was coming short to receive the ball, and he was sort of like getting into the box a lot. So he was doing, in effect, 2 brilliant roles, and also we're going to talk about the way he interchanged with Martinelli.
Absolutely. Defensively, again, not much in tackles, nothing in interceptions. They cleared the ball a lot more as you'd expect, and again, we pressed them a bit better than they pressed us, or at least we engaged quicker.
I think that, as I said, that they went long a lot in this game because they didn't have Maddison. So basically, I give credit here to Gabriel and to Saliba, who almost like played on an island in this game because they were like the 2 we left back and everybody else was up trying to sort of attack. So they had to deal with the long balls. They were sending a lot of their play was long balls. Something like 26.9% of their play was through long balls. And Saliba and Gabriel were always dealing with it. They were forcing them out wide if they got forward at all. Putting their bodies in the way and dealing with the high balls quite comfortably and recycling possession. And Gabriel was the one who, in the game, actually created the goal by punching the ball forward towards Trossard when you're going to break down that goal, I know. So in the end, I think Leicester only put together something like 13 sequences of more than 5 passes in the game. They just could not get any passing rhythms going because we were so dominant, and that dominance comes from the way we set up.
Well, actually, and you know, we already give you 3 graphics of stats, but we've got a 4th because there was so much other stuff you sent over. 245 touches for Arsenal in the final third in this game, the 6th most this season. 52 touches within 25 yards of goal, and Leicester completed only 26.9% of their long balls as well.
So I'll correct that stat I made. I was talking about their long balls. They only completed 26.9%.
Right,
I said they went long 26.
But your point stands, how well we dealt with it.
I've got that slightly wrong. So they completed only 26.9% of their long balls because they were going long all the time. But if you're only completing a quarter of your long balls, and that's your tactic, you're not going to be creating much up top, are you? And then in comparison to us, we were sort of like, the way we sort of like playing around their midfield 4 to get the ball out wide to our wide players, getting people up high. We had, look at that, the 6th most touches we had in the final third this season. So you could argue Arsenal was slightly wasteful in this game. 245 touches for us in the final third.
I don't think we were as cutting. Sorry to interrupt. I don't think we were as cutting, but I do think we were as. We looked fluid. We looked sharp. We looked inventive. I just think we were as inventive as we needed to be. I think Arsenal did just what was needed in the game, nothing more. They didn't blow Leicester away. Arsenal don't need to prove this season that they can create chances and score goals. So I was more than happy with what we got, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think the other question you could say is what sort of game would it have been had the Trossard goal, which was chalked off, been allowed? And it does seem to me that Arsenal were playing not only opponents at the moment, but playing against VAR as well. Every single week we're talking about a VAR decision, and it seems to be going against us. And you know, for me, that was, look, the 2 decisions in that first half, James, on VAR, which we're going to talk about before we go into the teams here. Now, whether you argue that White had a slight hand on the goalkeeper or not, if they're giving that as a foul, they've got to give a foul for on Saka when he gets almost like rugby tackled to the ground.
Simple as
so
that.
There's absolutely no inconsistency there. So I think the first half, had the Trossard goal stood, and I have to say that, remember, he still had a lot to do when that came out. The goalkeeper still had a chance to save it as well. So we were really unlucky there, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. So this was the big news. It was Leandro Trossard coming in, and then, it wasn't just him starting with Eddie Nketiah on the bench that kind of got everyone sort of wondering. It was also, well, what would the dynamic be? Would it be Martinelli maybe up front with Trossard wide? But he went with this front three, which was Trossard, and you're right, actually, when we look back at it before the Villa game, I would say Martinelli up front. I think the only reason I gave him the edge was because I think Martinelli's a better header of the ball, and I thought maybe he looks quite comfortable with his back to goal at times, Martinelli, but he went with Trossard. I think it came as a surprise to a few, just not because people didn't think it would work. It was a pleasant surprise. It was I didn't think Arteta would be willing to try this. He stuck with Jorginho as well. I'm wearing the Italy jacket for a reason.
I wonder why you went there.
Well, why not? Because he's, you know what? Credit to him. And we haven't got a section on him in this show, because I think we've given him a lot of credit in previous shows. But his numbers again were superb. Defensively,
he was in most numbers, wasn't he? So,
he was. He was at the top, rankings for.
But you are right. The key to the game was Trossard playing this false nine role, and the fact is that Gabriel Martinelli, a lot of people thought would be starting through the middle, stayed out wide. But the thing that I liked about these two, and we're going to share it in the numbers, I know you're going to show shortly, is the way that they could both sort of like interchange, and also they combine more. This to me was almost like Arsenal replicating what they had on this left-hand side with Gabriel Jesus in the team. We've talked about the right-hand side is our stronger side. The left-hand side, Martinelli's been struggling because he's been more isolated. And I thought Trossard and him in this game literally were interchanging and passing together, combining quite a lot in the game. So often, as we saw with the goal, it's Trossard dropping out here and Martinelli will be coming in here, appreciating that he can drive into that space. I've talked about before on these tactical shows about sometimes the value of having somebody who can drop in the line here like Trossard, because what that does is it creates a problem for a centre half. Do they come out and mark him, or do they stay deep? Because if they come out and mark him, they're worried about Saka and Martinelli running in behind. That's their worry. So they tend to stay deep. That enables him to come in here, and we have to say that they actually. Tete really was quickly back in a 4. So this was their narrow shape. It was like a 4-4-1-1, Barnes off the striker. That was what they played most of the game, right? So Tete's back. The centre halves were quite happy to sit deep because they were worried about Arsenal's lanes up high.
Should we bring them forward?
Yes, bring them forward. Odegaard up here, Xhaka up here. And so what you had in effect was when Trossard drops in here, and you got Jorginho here, and Zinchenko obviously inverts. Arsenal got like a box midfield, and they've got like now what you've got in effect is
just going to bring Saka.
You just move their
forward.
just move them forward so we get it correctly shown. So if you've got like they've got their midfield 4, and when Trossard drops in, we've now got 5. 2.
And you're 3.
And they're 3 there. So we got Jorginho and Zinchenko here, Xhaka, Trossard, Odegaard. So we got like 5 to play around their 4. And then we got the opportunity to spread the play. And I think that's what we were doing really well. If you just draw it there, it's brilliantly done. Yeah, so we've got that. We've got like that 5 in midfield when we build up. Jorginho obviously orchestrating from deep. And that enables us really to play round their 4. Now, if they're not going to sort of, centre halves who didn't want to come out much in that, and stay deep, if they're not going to come out, we play around them and then we get the ball out wide to our wide players. And then once we played round them, Trossard was then getting into the box. If you can just sort of move into the box for me. And he was moving into the box. Once he sort of come short and built the play, he was always then looking to get into the box, to get on the end of things from crosses from Saka or Martinelli. And then frequently Trossard and Martinelli were interchanging. Trossard was coming out wide, Martinelli was coming into the centre forward role. So in effect, really, that's how that worked. Everyone came away from that game thinking Martinelli played centre forward because he scored the goal. But it was because he appreciated the space once Trossard dropped out into the on the left-hand side in the second half, and he put the burners on to get on the end of a Martinelli Of a Trossard pass.
I'd go even one better in terms of the fluidity on the left-hand side and talk about how often I saw Trossard, doing his thing in the middle, and then actually Xhaka pulling out wide, and Martinelli almost, and Trossard both central at the same time, because Xhaka was happy to go for the overlap, because what it did was Castagne's thinking, well, let me tuck inside and maybe follow Martinelli. Tete's thinking, well, that's the threat, and Xhaka's going, yep, cool, I'll just stay out here and wait for the ball, because you've got a Zinchenko who can sit and dictate as well.
And also you had sometimes, if you do the switch over here, Zinchenko was going out wide.
You're right, yeah.
And then Xhaka was falling into the space there. So there was Arsenal so fluid with their movements. These players understand rotation where they need to be. And the other thing that they were doing a lot of the time, also they were stretching the pitch, James. Stretching the pitch out wide to sort of like create space to sort of like play around Leicester. It was very fluid, as you said. The word was fluid, the way we played on Saturday, the way we built up.
I completely agree. And we've got evidence of it. Let's first bring up, let's go with touch maps. Let's show, where's Gabriel Martinelli, touch map? There it is. Let's go with this. So here's Martinelli's touch map. This is the goal they're shooting towards. Left-hand side, big cluster of touches in this side of the area. Shots from that sort of, well, you can see the goal, but shots from that sort of opening the body up kind of area of the pitch. A little bit more central, but that is about what I'd expect from Gabriel Martinelli. And when you talk about fluidity, and you look at Trossard's touch map, it's very similar. Yes, not quite as deep in this area here, but very similar areas that he wants to pick up the ball, not really drifting to the right. In fact, hardly any on that right-hand side at all. So, it shows you that the interchangeability was there because they were trying to get the touches in similar areas. And, when Trossard's touching the ball here, I guarantee you Martinelli's there, or he's wherever, because they understood how to sort of take advantage of the space that each one was opening up for one another. And that's very important because when we talk about Martinelli's form, you sent through these numbers. This is all your research, that Martinelli and Trossard combined for 12 passes versus Leicester. Nketiah and Trossard, of course, Nketiah led the line against Villa. Trossard was on the left, combined for only 4 passes against Aston Villa. And it's these kind of stats that make me want to give a pat on the back to, or a clap to fans, because sometimes as fans, especially us doing tactical insight, how much do we really know when it comes to the coaches and when it comes to the complexities of football behind the scenes and what Arteta and the players must be doing? But everyone did say, since Jesus has been out, Martinelli doesn't look the same, and it's because of the support he offers him there. And you see in one game when Trossard comes in to replicate in a similar way with that creativity that Ghali has, that ability to play wide quite naturally over Eddie Nketiah, who by the way has done well, you see Martinelli come back to his best. And I just want to give credit to everyone who kind of did pick up on that, which was most people, because it shows we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think the difference between them is that Eddie Nketiah tends to play on the shoulder. So he will play on the shoulder of the centre half, whereas the difference in this game is Trossard not only plays in that area, but he comes short more than I think what Eddie does. And then he's looking to get out wide more. So that's the reason why I think you've got these numbers, because they're both very comfortable playing in each other's position. A bit like Jesus and Martinelli. They had that combination in the season because they're very comfortable. One was playing out wide, the other could move inside. They had that understanding, that chemistry. And I think these two players have got it. So Eddie is a different type of player. Eddie is somebody who plays on the shoulder, who's a penalty box poacher. If he's scoring goals, he's doing his job. But if he's not scoring goals, then you start asking questions. Trossard is you could argue, a more finer all-round player. In that he's
incredibly cultured
player, and he learnt the role of the number 9. He played the false 9. He played it at Brighton really well, understands the role perfectly, so he can play it. But he's excellent. His touching, his close control, his appreciation of space, and that's why I think it's working so well with Gabriel Martinelli. So there was a difference, and we were able to replicate, I think, as I said earlier, that better combination we had with Jesus early in the season. Interesting dilemma now for Arteta on Wednesday. When we play Everton, does he bring Eddie back in? Eddie, we saw with Martinelli, he took Martinelli out of the team for one game, didn't he? Just gave him a breather. He didn't drop him. He was quite clear with the media, I'm not dropping him, I'm giving him a break. He's come back and now he's scored 2 goals in 2 games. He looks hungry, he looks refreshed. So you could argue by taking Eddie out for a game, he's going to come back hungrier. I do like what Trossard offers in this false 9 against a low block.
I love it.
And I think Everton are going to sit with that 4-5-1, aren't they, on Wednesday night, like a low block. So Trossard dropping in there, it's going to be interesting, you know, their centre halves, do they come out, do they stay deep? Can we sort of like, with more fluid movement, play through them? And that's a dilemma for Arteta. And I think he will bring Eddie back, to be honest. I think that's what will happen. But I thought these two were absolutely exceptional with their combination play on Saturday.
I completely agree. And I thought it's only right that we... why can't I find anything today? There we go, the Martinelli goal. So right, we break it down. Because this goal really illustrates everything we've just been talking about the last 5-10 minutes about Trossard and the impact he's had on the team. Now, out of shot is Gabriel, you know, getting in front of his man and punching. You use the word punch. It's not a clearance. It's not. He's just gone. Let's just get it forward into hit a space. And Trossard, I think this is very clever from Trossard. Whether he means it or not, or maybe it's sort of a conscious thing. Sometimes instinct kicks in football. Your brain goes, there's space there, and let me just drift out. And what happens here is, as Gabriel's gone to clear the ball, Martinelli's quite deep, helping out defensively, and Castagne's followed him all the way. So Trossard's gone, the right back's gone. So he just sort of enters this nice space here. And immediately Souttar, Fass and Christensen are stretched. The back three of Leicester, or what's left of the back four, have to come across and deal with it. Now the ball comes forward, and we have, of course, recreated it because we're the greatest tactics show on YouTube. The ball comes forward into Trossard, and immediately Martinelli is sensing it, and I've paused it so it looks like Martinelli's got the ball, but he hasn't. He has sensed it and he's made the run, he's beyond Castagne. Castagne's lost him, that's it, he's losing the foot race. But what's clever about this is Souttar can't leave Trossard alone, goes all the way out to him. If anything, maybe he gets a bit too tight to Trossard, maybe almost makes a decision for him, because Trossard goes, if I'm getting this round you, all through your legs as he does, Martinelli's in. So Souttar comes across. Fass, I think, is wary of the cutback or something else. Yes. So he doesn't really want to come across to deal with Martinelli coming forward. Instead, Ndidi and Castagne are just trying to chase Martinelli. And I think that's where it goes wrong a little bit. Souttar gets too tight, but Fass doesn't really cover his space, and then Martinelli takes full advantage because Trossard just goes, yep, there you go, rolls it in, and then it's too late. But by the time Fass thinks, okay, maybe I'll try to deal with this, Ward thinks to come out, Ndidi and Castagne are chasing him, Ndidi actually catches him accidentally at the end of this. You know, they're worried about Odegaard on the edge of the area, or Saka at the back post or something, and Martinelli goes, I'll have it myself, thank you very much. And it's a really lovely finish. But it all comes from Trossard pulling wide and going, the space is now there for you to tap, because the centre-backs have gone, am I going, am I sitting? Or Souttar goes, I'm going to take it, I'm going to go for him. And they get it wrong.
Can you take it back?
Yeah, let's do it. From where? Here?
So yeah, from when the ball goes to Trossard.
Tell me when to stop.
The ball goes to Trossard, so you stop it now. So at this time, the thing I like about this action is Martinelli really appreciates the space. Yeah. Right? So he sees the bigger picture. And sometimes football is not just about physical ability, it's about your mental ability to appreciate a situation. The moment Trossard gets that ball, he puts the burners on. He's going to run into that space. He sees the space, and then Trossard nutmegs. It's like a little nutmeg, isn't it, through his legs, through his Souttar. And then when he takes this touch. Stop it there. He's still. It's a tight angle. Yeah. But I think he didn't get enough credit, I thought, for the finish. I thought the finish was excellent as he was sort of like falling over as he was trying to make the finish. That was a really good finish, and he gets clattered by Ndidi, I think, on the way down. Yeah. But that was a real sort of like the way Martinelli appreciated the space, the understanding between them. Trossard looking to play his mate in, and I thought that was an outstanding play and an outstanding goal.
It's quite a devastating goal from Arsenal because it's what I associate Man City in 17-18 doing, and Liverpool on the clock when they had Mane, Firmino, Salah, was going, okay, we've made the space and we're just going to, it come from a clearance from Gabriel. Yeah. 30, 40 seconds into the second half. Bam, clearance, touch, through the legs, touch, goal. It was Arsenal going, we're not going to get many opportunities where they're this open. Let's kill them when we do get that chance.
Just before you move on, obviously at the end there, they have got six back, but too late at the time. The pace of the move was really top quality, and we opened them up, and he put the burners on. He got into that space. They've got players coming back to cover. We've only got four up in that attack when he puts the ball in, and they've got plenty of players back at the end. But the fact that the play developed down that left-hand side from Gabriel's ball to Trossard, who then his quick thought process of getting it forward and Martinelli appreciating the space opened up for the winning goal.
Completely agree. And you're probably thinking this is the Trossard show. It may as well be. We'll chuck that in the title. Because Leandro Trossard, by the way, I actually didn't think Leandro Trossard was unplayable all game. It wasn't like he had an unbelievable performance. If I were to give him a rating out of 10, I'd probably give him an 8. It's not like I looked at it and went, 10 out of 10, he's the reason we won the game. Like I said, wearing the Italian jacket, I thought Jorginho was massive. Gabriel, I'm going to talk about in a bit. But Trossard just aided our performance in his movement and everything else. We've touched on it. But 7 duels won, 2 shots, 100% of his dribbles completed. He got the 1 assist as well. Really should have had a goal. Fair play to Leandro Trossard. And let's talk about Gabriel. 5 clearances, 2 tackles, 2 ground duels, and 2 aerial duels won. Not dribbled past once all game. 7 accurate long balls. And another thing that I don't think stats always show is the measuring of the high line from Gabriel and Saliba. The one time that Iheanacho did get in behind, they just, same wavelength, step up, he's offside. Yeah, and that's all brilliant as well.
Yeah, and I just think enormous credit to Gabriel and Saliba on Saturday, because as I said earlier, Arsenal literally sort of like left those 2 players back. They were trying to break Leicester down. I just think Gabriel really relishes these sort of games away from home. It's almost like his best performances have come away from home in these sort of battles. And I know it wasn't a battle in terms that they were battering us, but in terms of it's you took the lead, can you hold it? He relishes these sort of matches. And I thought that when they did actually try to break, he was very quick at snuffing it out. Yeah,
he was. Gabriel was excellent. Sorry that we've not spent more time on it, Gabriel, but we just wanted to give it a mention. We could have said Jorginho, we could have said Zinchenko, we could have said a lot of players, because I did think Zinchenko was back at his best, actually. I thought he was very good. I thought Xhaka was great. But we just want to touch on the away record there. So apologies for the graphic, the title's not in there. But this is Arsenal's away record this season so far, and it's very impressive.
It is. We played 13 on the road now this season in the Premier League, and we've won 10. I've taken 31 points out of 39. That beats the whole of the points that we scored away from home last season. And I think if you're going to challenge for the title, this sort of form is Championship title-winning form, if we can maintain it. And we've been exceptional on the road. Got back to clean sheets. We sort of like Chris Hudson messaged me last week. Can we get back to the clean sheets? That we need to start sort of like putting out more clean sheets. He's 100% right, Chris, as he always is. And this was a performance where we got back to delivering a clean sheet with a very solid performance. We dominated the whole game. We sort of dominated them defensively, and we dominated them with territory in possession. So the away record speaks for itself, James.
13 games, 10 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats at Old Trafford and Everton. Very recently, 25 goals scored.
Was at Southampton, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. 25 goals scored away from home is very impressive, and only 9 conceded. Arsenal are really doing their job on the road. A massive fair play to them as well. Okay, let's end with the closing stats. I was struggling to come up with a name there. Yeah, the closing stats, the roundup stats, and then we'll unveil the big milestone as well.
Thank you, James. Arsenal have now won 5 consecutive league games with Leicester for the first time since the 1930s. Arsenal now scored 14 goals in the 15 minutes after half-time, the most of any team in the Premier League in that period. Arsenal only faced 1 shot in the game at Leicester, the joint fewest shots Arsenal have faced in the Premier League game since Opta have full game-by-game shot data from 2003-04 onwards. Leandro Trossard has now scored or assisted in 3 of his last 4 Premier League games with Leicester. Gabriel Martinelli has scored or assisted in all 3 of his Premier League games with Leicester. Arsenal have now earned 57 points. That's 1 more than they managed in the whole of the 2019-20 season when they finished 8th in the Premier League.
We're 12 points off last year's tally. We got 69 last year.
That was 2 years ago, wasn't it? That was 19-20.
No, but last year's tally was 69 points. So, we're 12 off that.
Okay. And finally, James, Arsenal have taken more points, 31, on the road in 13 away games in 2022-23 than they did in the whole of last season, when they took only 28 in 19 matches.
Wow.
So that's the closing stats for this week. So I did say that today was as we've talked about, was a show for milestones. So before we announce the special milestone, obviously, first of all, congratulations to Manchester United, who won the first piece of silverware this season when they won the Carabao Cup, which got me reflecting on the Carabao Cup. Last Friday, the 24th of February, was a very significant date in the history of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. They had been around for 140 40 years, James. They have won 2 league titles. So what do you think that milestone was for Tottenham Hotspur?
I'm going to guess it was 15 years since they won what was the Carling Cup at the time, but the same competition.
And what's the significance then?
Well, 15 years without a trophy.
Exactly. So 15 years ago, last Friday, they last won their trophy. So I've now updated days.
Can't help himself. Even when they beat Chelsea, you can't help himself.
I've now updated days since the trophy. Man United 1, Man City 281, Liverpool 289, Chelsea 639, Arsenal 939, and Spurs official 5,482 days without a trophy. And also that comes on the back of last month when they hit another milestone when they've now gone over 1 billion seconds since they last won an FA Cup. And just a quick story about last week on the Friday. Funny enough, on the Friday of the day of the milestone, with the 15 years without a trophy, I was driving through a drive-through, got stuck behind this car. He had a lot of drinks going in through the window, and I'm thinking, come on, I want to get home. I want to get my order and get home. Look down, and he's got a Spurs number plate, SP61 URS. And I suddenly worked it out. It's obviously a car without a cup holder.
He can't help himself. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get Tottenham jokes.
Tottenham jokes, no matter what. Let's end up with the best milestone of all, James.
Yes.
And I'm walking away now.
It's a special one, this. Look what he's got. Look at all this to celebrate the occasion.
Right, so today
thank you.
Is the 100th Tactical Insight show that I've done on AFTV.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Well done, Graham.
55 with you, 37 with Don Robbie,
wow.
2 with the wonderful Cecil.
Amazing.
And you've done 6 on your own. This show now has developed far beyond what I ever thought it would. It's been a real pleasure and a privilege to break this down over the years, and particularly this year, following the way Arsenal way I have. And I always enjoy breaking this down with you, and I love doing them with you every week. And I'll say here's to the 100th show, and here's to another 100. And hopefully, James, that we're breaking down one day Arsenal winning the title.
That would be a very special episode, wouldn't it? Cheers to that. Imagine that. Imagine being able to sit here and go, Tactical Insight Special, how Arsenal won the league. Look, we're still a long way from that, but every week we're getting closer. There's 24 games played. We have now got, I keep thinking it's Burnley because it's Sean Dyche. That's always what's in my head, but it's not. It's Everton. It's a big game.
They play
it's
like
Everton. Listen, that's not always a good thing. But
you drink your wine, mate.
Oh well, thank you.
It's red. North London is red. Isn't it?
You're often red or white. I'm not surprised you picked this. But look, everyone, a big thanks for joining us for not just this show, but 100 episodes of the Tactical Insight Show. This was Graham's baby. This was his brainchild. He came up with this. I remember watching it with him and Robbie. I've come in, 2 years ago, and look, it's changed massively since.
And I will pay your comment, James. I think you've taken this show to a new level. So fantastic what you do.
I thank you so much for that. But what all of you don't see is behind the scenes, at late hours, honestly, Graham up, sending me research, sending me his analysis, and without all that, I can't put together this show. So a big thank you to you and a massive congratulations, because I know that this show means a lot to you, as it does to me, as it does to a lot of you viewers as well, and your comments and your feedback and your thoughts mean a lot to us. So big thank you, everyone. 100 episodes of the Tactical Insight Show to celebrate a 1-0 win for Arsenal at Leicester. We're back top of the league. Can we extend that lead from 2 points to 5 when we face Everton on Wednesday night? And there will be a Tactical Insight Show to discuss that as well. Many thanks. See you very soon for episode 101.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.